Lord Most High, our Heavenly Father, all our lives we dedicate to Thee. All our labors, all our joys and woes, all our pleasure, all our melody. Make us each a channel of Thy peace. When in darkness, guide us from above. Where there's sorrow, may we sow Thy joy. Where there's hatred, may we share Thy love.
Very good morning once again to all of you. Now, today's subject is peace, being channels of peace. And I have to say, whenever we talk about any of these things like cheerfulness, peace, joy, one feels a little pressure that he should be expressing that quality while giving the satsang as well. So hopefully that is also a part of our satsang, that we are able to express some sort of peace as we speak. Because as one of the secrets of peace is to actually, or being channels of peace through our voices, is very important that even our voices manifest the qualities that we want to develop within ourselves. But thought that to start, it would be nice for us to understand a little bit what is this peace that we are talking about. I think as yogis, we all know it somehow. We know it somewhat because it's the first experience that comes to everyone in meditation. Peace, you could say, is the cessation of movement. Where is that cessation happening? In our own hearts. It's when our hearts start becoming still enough that we can actually start perceiving the inner realities. So that stillness of the heart is the beginning of peace. And very interestingly enough, because in Hong So, we know that is that the main technique that we have for achieving peace. And we kind of downgrade peace a little bit after it. Everybody comes to the spiritual path, or 90% of the people come to the spiritual path saying because they want to find some inner peace, because they are too stressed and they want to be at peace. Like it starts becoming like one of the main things that people come to the spiritual path for. But then once people get kriya, once people start meditating more, they kind of downgrade peace to one of the lower qualities, because instead we want to feel joy, we want to feel love, we want to see light or hear the om or whatever it may be. But we had to understand that peace is the foundation for all of them. If we don't have peace, we cannot experience any of the other ones. So it's a very good thing to keep in mind and to remember once again the importance of practicing Hong So, other pranayams that will help us still the waves of the heart, because in that peace, everything else can come. Now, there's a story I heard long ago, and I was trying to find the source, but I couldn't. And I asked the person I remember who told the story to give me the source, but he hasn't answered yet. So whenever I get it, I will tell it to you. But if you're interested, but in the story of a king. And this king, as every king, had many responsibilities and you could say a lot of stress in his life. However, he had a secret for all of this. He had a garden. He had his own private garden who he will not allow anybody else to go to. Of course, the gardeners could do their job, but if he was there, nobody else could be there. And apart from the gardeners, nobody else could use that garden. That was the spot where he could find peace at the end of everything else that he needed to do, or before having to attend any important meeting. So one day, again, the stress was coming, and he went to his secret garden, you could say. And as he was walking in this beautiful garden, he could feel his heart, his mind calming down, calming down. and he was finally starting to be at peace. But then suddenly, in one of the corners of the garden, as he was walking, he saw someone was there. There was a beggar there. And he went directly to confront this beggar and say, "What are you doing here? This is my private garden. No one else is allowed to be here. And least of you, someone like you, a beggar. Why? How do you even come in here? Ah, my peace is already leaving me because of you." And this beggar, he was there enjoying and suddenly straightened up a little bit and he says to the king, "What kind of peace is that peace which can so easily be taken away?" And to this, the king was, "Oh, this is not a beggar. This must be some holy person if he, is telling me all this philosophy suddenly." And of course, sure enough, it was a sage. And this sage had come to actually be his guru. He was his guru and eventually taught him the secret of having everlasting peace. That peace that cannot be touched by outer circumstances. As it says in the poem Samadhi, this line I love so much. It says, "Tranquil, unbroken thrill, eternally living, ever new peace." Tranquil, unbroken thrill, eternally living, ever new peace. That I think that those lines thrill me so much more than other lines is because we all have had an experience of peace. Perhaps we haven't had an experience of the cosmic bliss or the inner light, but we all have had an experience of peace. And that thought of having tranquil, unbroken thrill, eternally living, ever new peace, I think is something that we all can relate to. And that's one of the secrets of this whole thing, that outer circumstances can give us peace. There is no denying. If you go to nature, if you go to a quiet spot in nature more than in the city, you can be at peace. But is that peace everlasting? Will that peace follow you around whenever you leave those circumstances? And that's why the topic of this satsang is not peace or finding peace, but being channels of peace. Because like that king who could lose his peace very easily, we also can at times lose our peace very easily because we are not able to become channels of that peace. And I think we understand by now that why do we need to be channels of peace? Well, first, because it's very much needed in this world, isn't it? There is peace almost in no one's heart. But so if we have something that we know other people need and we can find it in some way or the other, we should aspire to share it with others, isn't it so? But I think the more important aspect of this is that as yogis also, we have realized by now that whatever we share, we have more in ourselves. So if we become channels of peace, we actually start feeling that peace more in our hearts. And so I thought I may say a couple ways that we can become channels of peace. One of them is that, of course, we have to touch that inner peace, that everlasting peace in our meditation. So if we hope to be channels of peace without meditating, without every day, every morning, touching peace in silence, as it says in the chant, we will not be able to be channels of peace. We will actually probably be ruffled wherever we go. And we all live stressful lives, all of us, to some degree or the other. And for that, it serves you to have the example of Rajarsi Janakananda, who, it was, again, Master's most advanced disciple. His birthday is coming up, actually. And he was a self-made millionaire. In those times, being a millionaire was much more than it is now. He was in the board of directors of several companies, but he will not go to his office until the afternoon. And you hear of successful people these days that they get up at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. so they can start working from the very early morning. And that's how they achieve success. Well, Rajarsi Janakananda, he was a saint as well as a businessman. He will wake up early in the morning to meditate for long hours and then go to work. Because people would ask him, how can you even afford to do this with all your responsibilities? And he was saying, if I don't do this, I will not be able to perform my responsibilities so well. that things that will take me a week or other people take a week to take decisions upon, it takes me just a minute or a few minutes, because he was carrying that peace, that portable paradise with him. So most important of all is, of course, to first touch that peace. And then secondly, we had to understand, like this song that we sang, being a channel of peace is a conscious thing. It's not just going to happen passively, or rarely will it happen passively unless you are so engrossed in that peace. So wherever you see this chord, try to consciously, wherever you go, from your heart, radiate peace all around you, especially when you see difficult situations. I oftentimes see, a car accident or people getting aggressive with each other. Your first impulse should be send rays of peace from your heart. You may not be able to go there and talk them out and all that, but you can always at least aspire to send that peace may heal different situations. And I think the most important aspect of this is that we take it as a mission to spread peace wherever we go. And if we take it as a mission and a conscious choice after touching that inner peace that we want to share it, then we will find endless ways to become channels of that peace. So with that, I'll invite Shamini to take us forward.
Thank you. That was lovely. I'm just building a little bit on what Baraquiel was saying today. Actually, for a change, we actually thought the same way.
Oh, really?
But I still have different aspects that I will
Good.
speak about. But still, usually we have completely opposite.
Same stories too?
No.
Okay, good.
Luckily not. So often we are always fighting who goes first because the other person may not feel that. But so, just there's some really lovely question and answers with Swami Kriyananda, which are on YouTube, just very short, on just this topic. And I would really encourage you to just watch it. It's like less than a minute long, I think, if you just Google it. And one of it is basically the question, how can I find peace? I think something like that to Swamiji. And Swamiji's answer is, well, if you want to find peace, then find God, because God is peace. And you're just going, okay. I hope this video is a little longer, Yes. But then he goes on to say, and a little bit also what Baraquiel was explaining, control the reactive process, make sure that you're not so much in the chitta. You're not too excited when things go well, and you don't get depressed when things go bad. And if you can do that, pay attention, because behind that, when you control the reactive process, there will be peace. And that was very interesting to meditate on, isn't it? And it's an aspect of God also, as we were saying. And so just kind of that river of peace that's flowing, that's accessible, that's available, if we pay attention to it, you just need to kind of shift your attention to that. And then the reactive process a little easier to kind of tame, isn't it? It's just, instead of focusing on, oh, I need to control the reactive process, first touch that peace inside. Make sure we don't leave the house without touching that. And another thing he said, which again is very, very pertinent. This is a separate video and it's a very short, but just one thing that he's always made his bottom line is peace. He says, I have always made peace my bottom line. And he said, no matter what, even if 100 things were coming at me and people needed 100 decisions from me because of deadlines and whatnot, I would not give in. I would go at my own pace, but he added, which fortunately is not a slow pace. He was very fast, he was very efficient, but he never lost his peace of mind in the process. And so he said, some people make money their bottom line. We all make different things our bottom line in situations, but he made peace his bottom line, which he was encouraging. And that's something very deep for us to meditate on, isn't it? It's just think about, and I wanted to invite you now, let's make this a little more pertinent to our own lives. What does this mean? Because it doesn't mean when he said peace of mind was his bottom line that he was just indifferent and just sitting there. If people came to him, he was very accessible. He gave of himself. He was a channel of peace really to people. But what does that mean? Of where do you work with this in your own life? And so let's think of a situation that maybe this week itself made you kind of challenge your inner peace in a certain way. I wonder if all of you can think of at least one thing. I'm sure you can, where there was a situation and it just challenged your inner peace. And what did you do in that? Let's say in that you reacted a little, or your peace just dropped, or you got a little agitated inside, right? What was your bottom line in that situation? Was your bottom line to be peaceful, to be at peace with yourself, to bring peace to the people in that situation? Or was your bottom line to get the job done, or to, whatever it may be? And if you see, if our bottom line is or to make money, as he's saying, or to get this or to do that, if our bottom line is anything outside of ourselves, we're going to get affected. The reactive process is going to start, isn't it? Because you've lost touch with that river of peace inside. And if we just be a little honest with ourselves, oftentimes it's very easy to see, actually, wait a minute, what was my bottom line there? And this is something Swamiji encourages us very much. If something happens, put it back on yourself, because you have the ability to change yourself. You have the ability to learn. Even if someone is blaming you for something that you didn't do, still put it back on yourself and say, why is this happening to me? What do I need to learn here? What do I need to change here in myself? And the moment we do that, you're taking responsibility in a way for your own peace. And I thought that was such a powerful practice for us to keep in mind, isn't it? Because so let's say this happens and you go away. And so this last couple of weeks, I've been working on a painting of Saint Francis. I don't know why. I think I had drawn it a year ago and it was just lying, waiting. And so I just picked it up. And, when I paint, I enjoy the churning process. So I enjoy churning out certain qualities that I'm trying to express. In this case, it's been peace for about a couple of weeks. And I like to kind of nerd out, you might say. I like to listen to all of Swamiji on peace and the music. And, he's also shared a lot on St. Francis. So just been tuning into that. I've been singing this song, Lord Most High, on repeat, just to tune in. And really try to feel that as I'm painting, so that that conveys. And I enjoy that kind of, little, that's the artist in me, I suppose, the artist satisfaction. But, in that process, like, let's say there's also life goes on, no? You don't just get to disappear into peace for 2 weeks. And so it just happened like recently, there was a situation, one of those which challenged my peace. And it was very interesting to see. And I just wanted to share because it may be relatable for you, that in that moment, I had the choice in front of me. Do I start reacting and, speaking strongly, or am I going to speak calmly? Just watch myself in that moment. And somehow, miraculously, my tone of voice was calm and all. I was strong in the principle that I wanted to express. So in of itself, in that moment, I didn't feel like I lost my peace when I introspected. When I came back home, though, and I started thinking about that situation, I lost my peace. And there it was, again, because I had as my bottom line that all these things need to happen in a certain way. And that was my bottom line, not that I need to bring peace to the situation and I need to stay peaceful in myself. No, and it's just, that's a very good checkpoint. What is your bottom line? And if it's not in something higher, you will get agitated, you will get touched. And so coming back here, I was just trying to see, what do I do now that I need to restore, because I want to do my painting. I also have my own deadline with my paintings. I want to spend that limited time I have. And so I'm there, I'm trying to, I don't want to sit down until I'm feeling mediocrely more peaceful, And of course, like Baraquiel was saying, you can do a little bit of meditation, some pranayam, just again, bathe in this vibration again, enter it somehow, isn't it? Sing the music. But Swamiji also gives some very nice tips too, which is, when you are going into situations, whatever they may be, before itself, surround yourself with an aura of peace. Make sure to go into those which are going to be challenging you with that aura. Don't just go into it open, because you're going to get touched. And then he said, in those moments as well, think peace. Think peaceful thoughts and project that into people, into situation that you're with, into people's eyes, just sort of channeling peace in that way. Isn't that wonderful? Just think peace, have it in your aura, express it in your tone of voice, express it, he says, even in your gestures. People should be able to feel that peace emanating from your posture, from the way you're carrying yourself. And that's quite a challenge, isn't it, for all of us? But when we do that, then when we come back to our meditation seat later, we haven't lost touch and gone so far from that peace within ourselves. And we've actually been able to maintain that as the bottom line. And that's what he did. If you look at Swamiji, in every bit, his tone of voice, his posture, his gestures, his aura, his meditation, I'm sure, his chanting, his singing, his music, everything emanated peace, because that was what he was always keeping as his bottom line. And so for us too, that's a challenge. And just to do that inwardly, make that very, very strong. Nobody needs to know that we're doing that. People will feel it. There's this lovely story also of a family who wanted to bring up their children. Again, this is from Nayaswami Nitai. And they wanted to bring out their children with a strong sense of peace. And so every day they would tell all these discourses to the children at the dining table about peace. And then one time the father lost his temper on one of the sons. The next day, the older son lost his temper on the younger brother. And so it went. And there it was, that what he's pointing out is the children were not picking up the discourse. No, they were picking up the behavior. They were picking up the energy. What were they emanating? And that's what was being picked up. And that's for us too in our lives, in meetings, in situations, at home, with our families. It's what are we emanating? Are we channels of peace? Because that's what people will feel, isn't it? And it's not so much even what you say, just making this our inner reality, our inner world, and then being active channels for it in the world. And that's how it starts to become a more and more of our reality, a greater reality for all of us. So let's try our best to touch that peace inside and emanate it very consciously in every aspect of our lives.
Thank you, Shamini. So we thought we will conclude by singing Swamiji's song, Peace. So again, we will copy the lyrics so everyone can join. And try to bring this aspect of peace as we sing as well. And we haven't practiced this yet, Shamini and I, but I'm going to attempt to play the guitar for it. So.
Oh, really? Wow. That's a nice treat.
Yeah, let's see.
Baraquiel has been learning the guitar, but reluctant to play publicly. So
Yeah. But
he's doing quite well.
Swamiji's mother said, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing badly. At least try it.
And please sing along with us.
And you keep singing even if I make mistakes. Huh?
Yes.
Peace gave us the mountains, peace gave us the sky. Nightly when starlight enfolds us, peace is its lullaby. Amen. Peace gave us the morning, peace gave us the sun, bird songs that call us to welcome day and fresh us the seasons, peace gave us the rain, cool clouds that gather to bless us, mist hands that soothe away pain. Amen. Peace gave us our heart's love. Peace gave us our smiles. Rays of God's presence within us. Light that all strife reconciles.